Hey, it is Raymond here from the Beginner Photography Podcast, and my fear of spiders is completely rational. They got fangs, eight eyes, and a creepy mustache. It's not cool. It's not cool.
Welcome to the Beginner Photography Podcast with Raymond Hatfield, the podcast dedicated to interviewing world-class photographers to ask them the questions you want answered. Whether you want to be the world's best wedding photographer, family photographer, pet photographer, or you just want to take better photos of your kids growing up, we will get you to start taking better photos today. Here with you as always, husband, father, home brewer, LA Dodgers fan, and award-winning Indianapolis wedding photographer, Raymond Hatfield.
Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm excited for you to be here today. This is going to be an episode where I'm going to share some of my thoughts about something that happened to me recently and how you can avoid it, I guess. So, this is going to be a great episode, but first, I kind of want to talk to you guys about the Beginner Photography Podcast Facebook group. Okay, this thing is growing, and it's growing fast. Every day we keep getting more and more and more requests to join the group. We just broke 600 members, which may not seem like a lot, but remember, I vet every single person who comes into the group, and you can't come into the group without answering 3 questions, because I want to know that you're a photographer, or at least that you're interested in photography, and that you're going to have something that you want to learn from the group, right? So this isn't just for anybody who wants to join so that they can spam the group. This is 600 people who want to become better and help others become better as well. So just imagine being in a room with 600 people. I mean, that's a lot of people. And every single one is really interested in photography and interested into what you have to say and helpful with any question that you may have. So if you want to join the Beginner Photography Podcast Facebook group, I would love to have you there. Just head over to Facebook, search for Beginner Photography Podcast, and you will see the group right there. Request to join, you have to answer 3 questions, that's it. And then once you do so, I will accept you into the group, and then you will be welcomed up to this wealth of knowledge that we have accumulated over time. So that's it. I hope to see you there. It's a great group. I really enjoy being a part of it, and hope to see you there soon. So, all right, we're gonna get right into this episode right now because this is a personal episode today. Okay, there's no interview today, but I want to talk to you about something that happened to me recently, and I know that it's gonna help you. Okay, so recently, I'll tell you the backstory first. Okay, and you're gonna think like, oh, how does this apply to me? But here we go. Okay, so a few weeks ago, I was sitting on the couch with my wife, and she said, "Baby, you gotta look at this on Facebook." And she showed me the status of a woman who it's now her 5th anniversary, okay? Her 5th wedding anniversary. And the status was just like very sad of how she had a friend photograph her wedding, and it has now been 5 years and she hasn't received her wedding photos. So every year on her anniversary, I mean, she just like publicly goes for this photographer because this is a very sore spot for her, right? She hired a photographer to go to her wedding, to capture these memories, to help her relive her wedding day. And now she's been left high and dry. So I thought, oh my gosh, I feel so bad for this woman, right? I feel so bad for this couple who have nothing left of their wedding day, right? I mean, the only thing that you have after your wedding day, you don't have the cake, you don't have the decorations. I mean, you might have the dress, but it's not like you're going to get in it or anything every day. The only thing that you have left is the photos. And as a bride and a groom, you know, and this is going to sound weird, but you kind of like miss out on a good amount of your wedding day because you're focused for one on each other, and then you're focused on like one-on-one connections with people at your wedding. The photographer's job is kind of to show a wider view, right? Like, look at all these people. Here's this funny thing that happened between these 2 people that, you know, that you might not have seen, okay? It's there to enhance your memory of your wedding day. So a lot of times the photography is more valuable than you think that it is, right? Especially 5 years later when you have nothing to look back on. So I reached out to, so here's what happened. Okay, so I reached out to the bride, and I apologized to them for what happened, okay? Because this is horrible that they had a vendor who did something like this to them. And then I simply asked if I could help. That's it. Then once she told me her story, and she said that, she'd be up for whatever ideas I had. And I said, great, okay, sweet, I'll keep in touch. So then I started planning this whole thing in my head, okay? And this is what I found out from our conversation. She had a friend who she had a friend before she got engaged, okay? And this woman, her friend, had a quote unquote fancy camera and would take very nice pictures. The bride loved this her friend's photos. So when it came time to looking for a wedding photographer, the bride was actually going to hire a reputable professional, because she didn't want to lose any of these memories from her wedding. But what happened was her friend basically begged and said you know what, I would love to give this to you guys at a huge discount, obviously, from what they were going to pay for a professional. And she said that it would really help her out to build her portfolio. Well, as a friend, you're going to say, okay, I know you, I trust you, I've seen your work, I like your work. So this seems like a win-win for them, right? They're going to get good photos, and it's going to be by somebody who they trust. Okay, so the friend apparently during the wedding day went missing several times, and they couldn't find her. And looking back, there's just nobody knew where she was. And at one point, apparently during the reception, her camera had died. Think about that for a second. Think about that. If you only have one camera, and you're at a wedding, and your camera dies, just ask yourself right now, what would you do? What would you do? Okay, so for me, the answer to that question is be prepared, and before the wedding, you just rent another camera body. Okay, this is a great way to test out new gear, even have more professional gear, right? Say that you shoot with a Canon T4, T5, whatever it is. Now you can rent something a step up, a Canon 70D, 80D, go with maybe even a 5D Mark III or something like that, so that on the wedding day you can shoot. Your camera will have better autofocus, low light capabilities, and then if that camera dies, then you will have your camera as a backup. But I kind of went off track there. My point being is that problem before the wedding, so that you don't find yourself in a mess on the wedding day. Okay, so the photographer then promised the bride that she would have after the wedding, that she would have the photos within 2 weeks. Oh, that is crazy. Even for me, oh my gosh, 2 weeks, that's insane. But now it's been 5 years, and still, she's waiting on those wedding photos. So the kicker to this is that the bride's grandpa walked her down the aisle, and they have no photos of that whatsoever. The bride's grandpa has now passed away very recently. So now, right before their anniversary, their 5th anniversary, so now looking back on their wedding day, it's much more painful than what it was, right at the beginning. Now, every year they're going to have to remember that they don't have wedding photos, and she doesn't have that one photo of her grandpa walking her down the aisle, which she told the photographer was so, so important. So when I heard about the story, obviously I could feel that anger within her, because I know that, every vendor is not a bad wedding vendor. And I really wanted to get back to this couple because I could feel that they were in so much pain, and really it couldn't be fixed forever, because I can't, that photographer has blocked the bride on social media and email and all of her friends. It's a whole, it's horrible. But I knew that I could do something, right? So I really wanted to just give them something that they could hang on their wall, so that, when they look at it, they can think we are happy. We're a happy couple, and yes, this thing might have happened to us, but at least we're not completely out, right? And we still have each other, and just do the best that I can. Okay, so and if I could do that, if I could just make them smile, then I knew that I did my job to the best of my abilities. So I reached out to them, and again, I apologized to what happened to them, and I asked if I could help, and she said, yeah, of course. She was up for any idea that I had. I thought, okay, I'm going to start planning this thing. So I took it upon myself, not them, right? I took it upon myself to give them the best experience possible. So then I thought, okay, what do we need? Okay, well, we're going to need a location, right? Because you can't, you got to figure out where you're going to shoot. You're going to have to shoot somewhere. And then this actually happened later. Never mind, forget that. That's a whole nother story. And then I knew that we needed a dress and a tux, okay? So as long as we had a location and a dress and a tux, we would be set. We would have everything that we needed, okay? And everything else would just simply be extra. So I went on the hunt. First thing that I did was I went for a venue. I started looking for a venue. And when I talked to the bride on the phone, I asked, like, what was your wedding like? What did you like? What did you not like about it? And she said that they had more of a rustic wedding and that she really loved it. She loved that feeling. And I thought, okay, so I'm going to look for either barn weddings or rustic locations, right? And luckily, here in Indianapolis, there's plenty of barns, right? Lots of farms out here. So there's a good amount of farm wedding venues. And one of them I've worked with before, and I knew that it was going to be perfect for them. It's a wedding venue called Mustard Seed Gardens, and it used to be a farm. There's a giant farmhouse, and then I guess it's the quote unquote farmhouse. I meant barn before when I said a big farmhouse. Anyway, they have a farmhouse that was built in the 1800s, I think like 1835 or something like that. And I thought this location is going to be perfect for them. So I reached out to them. And they were like, well, this sounds interesting. Like, tell us more. So I told them, and they thought right away, yes, we will absolutely do this. We would love it. You can come out here. You can use the grounds. You can do whatever you want. This sounds perfect. Okay, great. So now I have the location. Well, earlier this year, I started doing vendor spotlights where I go to vendors and I just ask them questions and stuff, kind of to help them out with answer the questions that brides should be asking rather than the questions that, the knot says that they should be asking about their wedding dress or whatever. So I found a wedding vendor who, she owns a dress shop, and I've met her several times before. She used to be a photographer, so we've met at a couple photography workshops. And I went and did that vendor spotlight on them. They're really appreciative, and it turned out great. So when it came time to need a dress and a tux, I knew exactly where I wanted to go. So I reached back out and I said, Jessica, here's the situation. I would is this a possibility? I know the dresses are expensive. I've never done anything like this before. What's the next step? Is this even a possibility? And once again, right away, jumped on board and said, yes, we would love to be a part of this 100%. Have them come in. They can pick out, whatever dress and tux that they want. They can use for the day, obviously, and then we'll be good. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is wonderful. This is gonna be so great. So now I have the location and the dress and the tux. Everything else after that point is just extra. Okay. So once again, I thought I'm gonna make this the best it can possibly be. So what is extra? Flowers are extra. Getting that bouquet. Okay. They're gonna be in wedding attire. Get them the bouquet, and then hair and makeup. Sure, as I've never been a woman before, but as a woman, you typically know how to do, your own hair and makeup and what makes you look best. But on a wedding day, you're going to get, I guess, more touched up, more of a professional look done. So I thought, okay, well, let's do that too, right? Let's go all out. Let's go to the nines. So that's what I did. I just reached out to a makeup artist who, actually, I have not worked with her in the past. I had one set up, but she couldn't do it, so she recommended this one. So I took that recommendation and I said, hey, here's the story. And funny thing was, the exact same thing happened to her brother. Where her brother got married, the photographer ditched him. They haven't received any of their wedding photos, and this is now 28 years later, right? So she felt that personal connection. Once again, jumped on board right away. I reached out to a hairstylist who I've not only worked with, but she was a bridesmaid in a wedding that I shot. And as well, she was like, this sounds great. I'm game. I'm free that day. Let's do this. I thought, okay, we got a bunch of stuff here. We got the venue. We got the dress and the tux. We got hair and makeup. And we got a florist. We are set. We're going to make this happen. Okay, so the next thing is that once you have all those vendors locked in, you need to do everything in your power to communicate with them, okay? So on the day of, right, you can't just wait till 2 days before and be like, oh, hey, just making sure everybody's all good. This whole thing took a solid month of planning to get done. So at least once a week, I would check in and say, this is the update. Here's where we're at. Here's what's coming up. Does anybody have any thoughts on this, X, Y, Z? Just so that as the time got closer, they'd be aware, they'd be more invested, and they'd be excited for the day. So I made a schedule, like a day of schedule as well. So I said, the couple are showing up at this time. Hair and makeup can show up a half hour later. Florist can, we can get that anytime. And then dress and tux is the day before. I kept in contact with the venue to make sure that like day of, we can show up, everything is good. Just so that everybody, once again, was on the same page and that there wasn't any surprises, okay? And that is extremely important. Okay, so now I wish that I would have done this, but hindsight's always 20/20. I wish that I would have had somebody there to help me that day, because that day I had planned like a little interview. I wanted to record this whole process for them to talk about their experience, right? Because I was going to use this as a promotional video for my own business, right? And the businesses of all the vendors who helped out. So I made up this little interview. So we were going to sit down. I was going to ask questions, and then we were going to get on to the shoot. But of course, the day of was very busy. Hair was running late. The makeup artist couldn't find where we were. The bride actually had an orthodontist appointment that day, and that was also going over schedule. The tux had to be shipped and came in the day of the shoot. So the groom had to go all the way to the other side of Indianapolis to get it and then come back. So there was a possibility that something might go wrong there. The florist was held up at her last appointment, and the venue said that they closed at 6 p.m. Now, okay, no big deal, except we wanted to shoot at sunset. Sunset was at like 8:10 p.m. They said, that's okay, you can shoot outside in the grounds, but like the bride isn't going to have anywhere to change out of her dress before she drives home. So it's like all of these things. I wish that I could have spent less time putting out these fires and more time focusing on the couple and their story. I really think that would have helped. In the end, everything, came out fine. I think I would even say great. But having that extra person just to kind of do some damage control really, really, really would have came in handy that day. So if you have a spouse or something, a very supportive spouse, ask them to just help out for the day. It's a few hours, and just once again, keep that communication open with them so that they know what's going on, who needs to be where, and if there's a problem, kind of just use their best guess. So okay, so everything went out. Like once everybody was there, everything went perfectly. I could not have asked for a better outcome, seriously, except for one of my microphones when I was recording the interview. Basically, the volume was like all the way down, so I had to. The audio, it took a lot of work when I created the video. By the way, this video that I'm talking about is live, and it will be in the show notes to this episode if you want to check it out. There's it's their story, the couple story, Tracy and Duran. They share their story, and then I share examples of the wedding photos that I took for them and their advice on what they would give to other couples and stuff. And I found, surprisingly, that most of the people sharing this on Facebook are other photographers, just like sharing their thoughts, because as a professional, you just want to make sure that couples are taken care of, that they're looked after. And this video kind of validates that. So if you want to share it, feel free to do so, enjoy. So again, you can check out that video in the show notes of this episode. This is episode 112, and that will be on the website. Okay, so here's the part that's going to help. We're like 18 minutes into this episode, but here's the part that is going to help you. Okay, here's why this is all important. From what I've learned from them, here are the tips that I've learned so that you can avoid being that quote unquote friend who is new to photography, building their portfolio, and just to try to ease the couple's minds when it comes to working with you rather than a professional. Okay, this is very important because when starting off, it can be very tough, especially if you don't have the portfolio. A lot of what the couple is buying is your trust because that's all that they have to go on. So the first thing that you need to do in this situation is that, they say, okay, you know what, Raymond, we want you to be our photographer. We know, be completely open with them. We know that you are still building your portfolio and that you don't do this full time, and that you're going to do your best, but kind of keep our expectations low, right? Because if you just gain things as you go through more and more weddings, you learn something every time, and you're like, oh, maybe I'll do this differently. But that first one is always very hectic, and there's always plenty of things that you wish that you would have done differently. So as long as they're aware, that what they're getting into, then you'll be okay. Okay, so put yourself in check, because you need to think about how important this day is to the couple. Every single time. Even me, still to this day, I think like, yeah. No, I don't think that. I was going to say, oh, this awesome podcast. I'm not this. Anyway, like you get these ideas of like, I'm in photography all day long. I think about this all day. I watch posing videos, technical videos, like all these tips and tricks all day long. Okay? I feel like, yeah, I know what I'm doing. I'm going to show up and I'm going to rock that wedding. And this is going to be awesome. I'm going to get this sweet shot like this, and I'm going to do that, and I'm going to do this. But remember that this day is about the couple. It's not about you. It's not about what you can get. It's not about building your portfolio. This is about the couple. Everything today, the wedding day, is about the couple. And if you screw it up, they will remember that negatively forever. Now, I'm not trying to put any pressure on you. All that I'm saying is just, all you got to do is just remember that you are not like a visionary, right? Like Ansel Adams. You can take great pictures, okay? And that's awesome. But you're not going to be there that day just with completely free and open creative license. You still have to do a duty for that couple. You're working for that couple. With that frame of mind, it'll be easier for you to go in and grab the photos that they need, okay? That's the first thing that you need to do. Every wedding, even years down the road, every wedding, that's the first thing that you need to do. Second thing, you got to come prepared. That's, I would say, equally as important as putting yourself in check, is be prepared. So leading up to the wedding, try to get a timeline of events, and then like as you're looking through the timeline, run through everything in your head, so that you can ask yourself some questions, so that you can get some clarity. You see, so they have a limo going from the ceremony to the reception that's like 15 miles away. Okay. Do they want the photographer in the limo? Okay. I got to ask that. And then you got to ask yourself, if they do want me in the limo, how am I going to get my car from point A to point B? This might be as easy as like, just get an Uber back after the reception or something. Or maybe you have a second shooter who can drive your car. The point being is that looking at a timeline is useless if you're not going to look into the future and try to figure out how things are going to work logistically for you. Okay? Okay. You see, okay, here's an example that I run into all the time, right? Couples like, we're doing a first look from 2 to 2:15, and then we're doing bridal party photos from 2:15 to 2:30, and it's like, okay, yeah, sure, there's, maybe you can get both of those things done in 15 minutes each, right? But there's always travel time in between, right? So that as it keeps going, then we're going to do, couple portraits, so the bridal portraits, immediately following for like 30 minutes, and then we got to get back immediately to the ceremony. And you're like, oh, geez. So all these things are going to take some extra time. You just want to make sure that they're aware, like, hey, this is going to be tight. I'm going to do the best that I can, but we might have to, hold off on some of those portraits of you two, the couple portraits, until like after the ceremony or something. Or ask if things can be moved up a little bit. Just in your experience, that's what you find. So being prepared is so important for those reasons. Okay, now this brings me to my next point, is to have a shot list. A lot of photographers are against having a shot list because they don't want, and myself included for, a little bit. So it's like you don't want to shoot every wedding exactly the same. You don't want Bill and Nancy's wedding to be the same as Tracy and Duran's wedding, right? You don't want them to be the exact same photos because now you just have a job. You just show up every day and you're like, click, 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 click. Okay, got this one. Click, click. Where's my shot list? Okay, that's what I need. Click, click. All right, done. I'm out of here, right? That's very boring. That's not very satisfying to me, right? And I don't want to have a shot list at every single wedding. But when you're first starting off, especially at your first wedding or first few weddings, there's going to be a lot of pressure on you to continue getting like great shots, right? Being on the fly. So, like new things happening. Oh, we got to do that. We got to get over here. Oh, I got to bring my light stand. I got to do this. I got to do that. I'm going to switch lenses. The light totally changed here. So I highly recommend you having a shot list, okay? But here's how I would do it if I had to do it all over again. Have a shot list of just like 5 photos, right? And these are like the must-have photos, okay? Like, oh, I saw this photo online and I really, really, really want to get it. Great, that's totally fine. That is wonderful. Okay, so now look at that photo and plan it out to like the T, right? Ask yourself, what lens am I going to use for this shot? Is it going to be the 35? Is it going to be the 85? Maybe the 50? Okay, make your decision before the wedding so that when you get there, one less thing to think about. What is your camera height going to be? Are you low to the ground, looking up? Like, is it like this hero shot? Are you straight at them? Are you to the left and looking like just at the bride here? Ask yourself exactly where does the camera need to get the shot that you want. Next, ask yourself, what is the background going to be? Now, this can be kind of hard, especially if you've never been to that location before, but you can get a good idea. So like look at the photo that you want to replicate, or not replicate, but that you're inspired by, and think like, oh yeah, this would be really good, with some buildings behind them, or this would be really good. I know that we're shooting, at a farm venue, and I know this would look really good with corn stalks behind them, or something like that, right? Just give yourself like a very general idea of what you want to be behind them so that when the day shows up, you can keep an eye out for like, oh, let's see if there's anything like that around here. Oh, great. Yeah, there's this nice little building right here. That's what I want in the background. So now that I know, I'll have the couple close to this area when we go to take the photo, and then you can narrow it down. I'm going to have them standing right here. Now I already know what lens I'm going to use, or what the camera height and angle is going to be. And then the next thing that you need to know is, what are you going to tell the couple to get them to look how you want them to look? Is this a funny shot? What joke are you going to tell? Is this a very romantic shot? Is it highly posed? Do you want this to be very intimate? How are you going to, what are you going to say to them to get them in that pose? One thing that I do before a wedding is, on the way to the wedding, I will actually sit in my car alone, radio off, no sound, and I will pretend as if I'm like driving like 70 miles an hour on the freeway, and I will pretend as if I'm with the couple right now, and I'll say like, okay, so Tracy, I want you to turn this way. Okay, I need you to turn just a little bit to the left. Duran, I want you to come over here and just rest your hand like on her shoulder, right? And then with the other hand, bring it up from under her right hand, and then just kind of hug her from in between, right? Get in nice and close. Go ahead and put your head off to the left side there. There you go. That's wonderful. Okay, now turn in towards her head and just like, whisper something in her ear. Whisper like her favorite vegetable or something like that, And now it's kind of intimate, and I'm going to get like a good laugh or whatever it is that I'm going for, so that when the time comes, I'm not just like, what are they supposed to do with their elbows? This doesn't look right. How did that photo look? Because you don't want to just like pull out your phone and be like, hold on, I'm going to replicate this photo here. Let me get it. Oh man, my internet's slow. Hold on, you guys got to wait. I know that I'm wasting your wedding day right now, but let me see. Oh, here it is. Oh, that looks weird. Now we're going to scrap this and do something else, right? That's the last thing that you want to do. You need to know exactly what it is that you're going to say to them to get the look that you want. Okay. I don't know what tip number this is. Okay, so the next one is have a list of family photos, right? Get them to make you a list of family photos, because, if they're not like really close friends, you're not going to know who Aunt Kim is, or, Uncle Mark. You're not going to know any of these people. So if it's on your list, you're going to look up and be like, there's a lot of people here. I don't know if this is everybody. And then ask the couple to have some sort of like handler to help out. They'll be able to call out and spot family members for the photos, just to make everything a lot easier, right? Okay. Next thing is if you're, okay, so what I believe happened with Tracy and Duran's wedding photographer is that, she mentioned that the camera died at some point, but they have like really weird and like random photos throughout the day. They have like 20 photos from their wedding day, and it's always at like random moments. Nothing is like, it's clearly not intentional at all. And I think that the wedding photo, like maybe the card died, it became corrupt. Maybe she formatted over it and tried to save the photos afterward. I'm not sure what happened, okay? But I believe that it was an issue either with the camera or the card. So what you can do to mitigate that from happening to you is that hopefully, if you're upgrading camera soon, or maybe you already have one, try to get a camera with 2 card slots, 2 places to put in memory card. This will make it so that it takes one photo on one memory card and then the exact same photo copied onto the other memory card. If something happens to that first memory card, guess what? Now you have another copy of it, so you're all good. But I know a lot of entry-level cameras don't have 2 card slots, and even like some full-frame cameras don't even have 2 card slots. So here's what you can do. Shoot with really, really small capacity cards. Okay, I'm talking like 4 gigs here, like tops, okay? Because what happens is if you show up and you start shooting, you have like, I have a 128 gigabyte card, and you shoot the whole day on this one card. And then like the last 15 minutes, somebody like drops your camera, something happens. Now you've lost all of the photos throughout the entire wedding day. The first look, the family photos, the portraits, bridal party shots, the first kiss, right? The ceremony, obviously, into the reception, cake cutting, all of these things, you've lost them all. However, if you would have shot the whole thing on just like 4 gigabyte cards, then, and one card goes corrupt, that's okay, because now you've only lost like the getting ready photos. Does that suck? Yes. But you know what you didn't lose? Everything else. You still have the ceremony, all the portraits, family photos, like all the important moments, except for like, one small part of the wedding day. And then that brings me to my next point. Be honest every step of the way. If something happens, right, you're probably not going to know the day of. You're probably not going to know, like, at the wedding, like, oh, no, this card went corrupt. You're probably going to get home, put it in your computer, and realize, like, oh, no, something terrible happened here. Be honest. Don't just try to sweep it under the rug and be like, getting ready photos. No, you don't need those. They're not very good. Tell them, hey, look, one of my memory cards went corrupt, and this is what happened. I apologize, and then try to make it right to them. Okay, don't like, I'll give you more photos of the rest of the day, because that's just kind of like BS, right? That means that you're just going to give them all the good photos and like some lame photos that are like out of focus or something like that. So what I would do in that situation, like if this was like my first wedding, like with my first 5-10 weddings, I would give them back every dollar that they paid me. Even if I just missed like, just the getting ready photos that are like, yeah, but those aren't like really important to the day, I would give them back every single penny, because for one, I don't want them to think that anything negatively about me, right? That I was trying to scam them out of something. I don't want that. So I would just remove that from the equation altogether and be like, look, I apologize. Here's every dollar back, and here's the rest of your wedding photos. Now, I understand that it takes a lot of work, to edit up the rest of those wedding photos. But think about if you didn't do that, right? And you kept all the money still, and then you gave them the rest of the photos, even if they're still good photos. 5 years from now, they may think like, there was one photo of my grandma walking in and giving me a hug while I was getting ready, and that is the one photo that I wanted. So therefore, every anniversary, I'm going to go on Facebook and be like, guess what? You know who the worst photographer in the world is? This person. And you don't want that. You don't want that. That is worth, that will kill your business, okay? So I would much rather just be like, look, here's your, whatever, $500 back right now. I apologize profusely, but I'm still going to do everything that I can to make this right and get you your photos, as fast as possible, and make sure that you're still happy, okay? Because then, like, oh man, that does suck that I lost that photo of grandma, but I could tell that the photographer is really trying to make it right and that they feel bad in this situation, and They gave me back all my money. Like, how much more can I complain, right? Like, I really can't. And therefore, you're not going to get those negative reviews years and years and years from now. Okay. If the next thing that you should do is have contracts. Okay, you should have a contract. I think you can go over to the lawtog.com, lawtog.com, and they have like a free sample contract, I believe, that you can use at a wedding, right? You can use this. Essentially, a contract is just an agreement between two people. That's all that it is. You can be like, your contract could be, I will shoot your wedding on this date at this time or whatever, just so that it's understood that you're shooting the wedding. That's technically a contract if both people sign it. Where contracts get, long and lengthy is when you try to take care of any problems that might arise. So in this case, have something like guarantee. You need to put in your contract a guaranteed delivery date so that there's no like, oh yeah, no, I'll get them to you in 2 weeks. And then in 2 weeks be like, oh, sorry, life is kind of busy. I'll get them to you in another 2 weeks. And then just like eventually, because that's, for one, a terrible client experience. But for two, if the couple knows when their photos are going to be delivered, it's going to, one, light a fire under your butt, but also give them that peace of mind that you're not just, quote unquote, the friend and looking to build your portfolio and make a few $100 and then just ditch them if something goes wrong, right? It's going to protect them and it's going to protect you, because if they're like, where's our photos? Why haven't we got our photos? It's only been a week. Hey, in the contract, I say that you'll get your photos within 60 days, something like that. And then it'll just make everybody feel much easier about the whole situation. And then you should really put in your contract what you will do if you don't meet that delivery date. Now you're thinking like, well, why would I do that? Things come up, I had a wedding where immediately, this was a terrible situation. I was very early in my photography career, and the father of the bride was paying for the wedding, and he said, hey, it would really make me feel better if I could pay the last portion of their wedding payment after the wedding, just so that I know that you're going to deliver the photos, right? And I thought to myself, like, I don't do that, but I'm going to deliver those wedding photos, so yeah, of course, sure, I can absolutely do that. I'll do that, like this one time, right? Well, immediately following the wedding, like 2 weeks later, the bride's father's mom passed away. So he had to travel down to Texas, and he was there for like a month because he had to take care of, final, just, everything that's involved with the funeral. And therefore, he couldn't pay me that final installment. So the couple had to wait a ridiculous amount of time to get their photos. And the whole time, apparently they didn't know. They didn't know that that's what they were waiting on, was for the dad to pay that final balance. And I felt bad for that, right? So if I had it written in my contract, like, what I'm saying is that like life comes up, okay? And that if something arises, maybe one of your parents die, or you're hospitalized for some reason, put it in your contract as to like what you will do. Sure, I hope that the couple would totally understand and be like, no, you know what? We get it. Just get them to us whenever you can. But if they don't, like, if this will just add more trust. Be like, look, I have to deliver them within 60 days, barring any like natural disasters or like incidents involving like injury. But if I don't get them to you within like 60 days, I'm going to give you back half of your money. Like, whoa, that couple is going to feel way, way, way better about booking you. Or I'm going to give you a free album. You know what I mean? These things are going to make the couple just feel at ease. And if you're really doing this with the intention of the couple, if that's your motivation is to help out this couple, then that shouldn't be a problem. Okay? So there you go. And then you just need to be honest, like I said, every single step of the way. If something goes wrong, tell them. Maybe not like right at first, like, oh, I can't get this card to work, and then like email them and be like, hey, sorry, like I lost half your wedding photos. And then you try one program that's like, oh no, I fixed it. All of them will work. All the photos work. You don't have to put in extra fear into the couple, but be honest. Like once you know all the facts, just be honest every step of the way. And then lastly, here's my last tip. That wedding photographer who did not deliver this bride and groom's photos earlier, after like 2 months after the wedding, she just and moved to New York. Like, no explanation, no contact after that. Just like, oh, by the way, I'm moving to New York today, and then just left. So my last piece of advice is don't just up and move to New York. Okay? Seems pretty easy. Just don't do it. She left her, like, husband and kids behind here in Indiana. Horrible situation. Horrible situation. Okay, so I hope that this has helped you. I think with those tips, it is really going to help you out. If you are in a situation where you're going to shoot a friend's wedding and they want some, they want to feel good about their decision and you want to put them at ease, right? And this is, hopefully these steps helped you enable to put them at ease? No, be able to put them at ease. There you go. So that is it for this interview. I hope that you enjoyed it. And again, if you want to check out that video that I made for this couple that has been being shared a ton of times by a lot of photographers, you can head over to the show notes of this podcast. That's beginnerphotographypodcast.com, and then look for the show notes for this episode. It's episode 112. Whew. Okay. That is it. I have some exciting news next week that we are going to get to, and next week is with a family photographer who shares a lot of great tips on how not only to capture better photos of your family, but if you photograph other families, how you can get children at ease and just feel more comfortable in front of the camera. So look out for that one. Until then, I want you to get out, keep shooting, shoot as much as you can, try something new. And above everything else, I want you to be safe because I love you all. Okay? All right. See you next week.
Thank you for listening to today's episode of the Beginner Photography Podcast. Be sure to join the conversations on Facebook and Instagram. And if you want any links or resources we talked about in today's episode, check out the show notes at beginnerphotographypodcast.com. See you again next week.